Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone. Today we are talking about transparency. Transparent leadership means leading with openness and honesty. Now, I'm going to share with you a few techniques on how to be more transparent in your company here pretty soon from an article that was produced by Forbes. They talk about that doesn't mean sharing confidential information, nor does it mean sharing so much information that you're overwhelming those around you. It's about sharing the right information with the right people at the right times so you make the best decisions together. Now, I have as my number one value, who I am professionally and personally, is transparency. I can be a very transparent person. And I know that sometimes people are like, whoa, that was super honest. Now, I try to be respectful with my honesty, but I can be very transparent. So with that, when I was rebranding from Camilletti Consulting to Spark Your Mindset, a couple years ago, during the pandemic, I went through a little bit of a test. I was part of this business advisors group, and I had been in this group for 13 years. I understood that it was extremely confidential, and you really get to know each other and your businesses to help each other grow and push each other in the right direction. And so as I was trying to rebrand and learn, what are some of the descriptors that are me, that embody me, and I bring to the table with my leadership coaching? Well, I had outlined what I was going to share about myself. And I knew a couple of the people, and this was a good mix. It was about 10 people, couple women, primarily men, some older than me, and some much younger than me. And so it was a great test. And I did it. I put it on the table and I was like, this is who I am. And I shared. It was a little bit of a similar share that I shared at the Women's Summit back in December of 2021. And I just laughed because some of the people were like, wow. And I wasn't surprised. One of the youngest people in the group, they were like, that was way too much information. I don't want to know that much about you. And I was like, yeah. And the other people that I knew maybe had been through some stuff, they're like, yeah, that was impressive. And all I could keep thinking, Allie, was like, wow. And she bounces back and she bounces back. And so some of the descriptors that came up, resilience was the top one. And there's no mistake that that presentation at the Women's Summit was titled with resiliency, because that is a big piece of who I am and what I focus on. Now, I don't want to go to the place of men are this way and women are that way, because I see it in both genders. But being primarily men in this group, a lot of them couldn't really connect to what I was experiencing or what I had been through. So it really showed me I need the right audience. And that's what built my confidence to do the presentation that I did at the Women's Summit, because yes, there's men that attend that, but I will say in my presentation, it was all women. And were there women in there that were like, whoa, way too much? Absolutely. And that's okay. But you're never going to be able to hit everybody perfectly with your information, but it's still gauging the right people, the right content. Now, I will say younger years, not so much transparent. No, in my 20 plus, where I was managing in my mid 20s and teams of 50 and a good amount of them older than me, no, I was hiding who I was. In the earlier podcast where Amber talks about transparency, you might have heard I even start crying. In my 20s, I would have cut that out quickly. There's no way I would have admitted that I started crying, but I was so emotionally moved by her. I'm always kind of paying attention when people are transparent and like, how's that feel? Was it the right audience? Recently, I had been listening to Atlas of the Heart on HBO Max. Brené Brown has a series of episodes, and she shares, I think in her opening episode, about how she was feeling nervous about the production and everything she was going to share, and she was talking to her daughter. And I was like, wow, she's practicing transparency. And she talks about transparency in Atlas of the Heart, right? She talks about so many beautiful, beautiful feelings and emotions. And everyone should listen to that. They really should. So let's talk about the Forbes article, 3 ways to be more transparent as a leader. What does that look like? They start off with a quote by Denise Morrison. The single most important ingredient in the recipe for success is transparency because transparency builds trust. Every article I found when I was looking at articles and even quotes on transparency, they included trust. They are so intertwined. So while there are many traits that define great leadership, few are more important than transparency, according to this article. In many ways, transparency largely comes down to being open and honest, just like the definition. Now, this is with employees, clients, or anyone else you communicate with as part of your business. Now, I will say there's a level of honesty too when it comes to you don't need to complain. You don't need to tell everyone that you're understaffed and that's why the house wasn't clean enough. No, right? This goes back to my customer service. People don't want to hear your excuses. They want to understand, and when it's appropriate, you share. When done right, transparency becomes a key part of your leadership style and even a competitive edge. Following are 3 ways that they talk about. The first is set clear expectations. I think of Brené Brown, clear is kind. They say, according to Gallup research, only half of American workers feel like they truly understand what their employer wants from them. I'm not surprised. I actually just had this conversation with a leader. And I think that comes from, maybe they got a job description when they were originally hired. But if you're a high performer, which a lot of times in leadership, that's how you get to that position, you end up taking more and more and more as people see that you can take more or you have these strengths. And then eventually it's like, wait a minute, what is my position? What are my priorities? And so making sure that you check back with leaders, and the leaders are actively engaged in setting expectations. I know that we talked about you doing this project, but we're understaffed right now. That needs to be tabled for the moment. Let's come back to it in a month. It can be easy for employees to lose motivation if they feel too overwhelmed and like they are not being able to really be strong in all of their responsibilities because they have too much going on. They will be more likely to focus on the wrong metrics or just simply waste time because overwhelm is huge. So this lack of communication will lead to subpar results in the workplace and ultimately tension between leaders and staff. One manager put it in the Gallup report that performance evaluation should not be a surprise. If employees don't know where they stand before that meeting, there's a big problem. One of the 2 hasn't been doing their job, and it's probably the manager. Clear expectations is key. Being transparent. What we are focusing on right now. What can be tabled because it's not a priority. Transparent leaders set performance expectations for everyone, including themselves. This gives everyone a clear sense of direction that enhances performance and engagement. A great way to do that is by setting SMART goals. We know those are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. and giving them the why of why you're setting those goals. You are working on this project. Once you get that project finished, then I'm able to do this piece, which is then due for whichever situation over here. And being really clear about that so they understand how everything flows. Number 2, share your failures, not just your successes. Transparency goes hand in hand with vulnerability and humility. While it's easy for many leaders to celebrate their successes, it can be hard to admit when you didn't do things perfectly, right? Who likes to say they failed? I don't know a ton of people that like to go around saying that they failed, but it's important to do, especially when it applies. So owning up to your mistakes and failures, it can be powerful. Few leaders know this, as well as Nico Pavlovin, who may be one of the most vulnerable execs around. As co-founder and CEO of Logmore, he even goes as far as to share his failures with potential clients before they hire his data logging company. I think that's relevant. We've been in business this long. We've learned so much, right? It shows that piece of risk, you're willing to learn from your mistakes. He says, your clients expect a certain level of performance when they sign up to do business with you. By being truthful, when things go wrong, you can retain their confidence. You won't come across like you're trying to hide information, to seem better than you are. Rather, you'll make the case that you're holding yourself to measurably high standards, and you're invested in consistent improvement. I remember there was a day where the internet was out for hours. I want to say like half a day. And I was talking with this gentleman. He handles my internet system. And I was like, I didn't get an email that the internet was out at all. And he's like, Allie, does that really surprise you? And I was like, no. And we're held hostage a little bit in our area with what we have as far as providers with internet services. And it just shows in their company values that, you don't always get that information. Now, this openness enables you to demonstrate your company's commitment to growth and performance. A valuable asset when pitching clients or trying to motivate employees. Number 3 is be consistent. Leaders strive to be consistent in policies and actions. You shouldn't play favorites or make exceptions to the rules, particularly if those exceptions only benefit yourself. Consistent behavior from leadership proves that you walk the walk, not just talk the talk, right? It's all about actions, because I can listen all day long to one thing, but it's about what I see. Examples of consistent behavior among business leaders includes making it a policy to share information about your company's development and decisions. And that's with the rest of the staff. This might include holding meetings with the entire team on a consistent basis so that everyone's kept in the loop. And this can look different for all companies. One of the things that really comes up with the Tiger's 6 principles and the leadership coaching that I do is sharing of financial information. I mean, I can continue to see this as being a challenge where people, owners, leaders, they're like not comfortable sharing this information. I'm not saying you need to share every penny or even that you need to share your actual profit and loss, but I worked for a company that gave us percentages and shared where we were going because we were actually bonused at the end of the year on them. And when I knew that maybe we were pacing behind, I was quick to do what I could and what I would affect in looking at shaving some costs. This consistent communication can be more valuable than you think. Studies have shown that for businesses with 100 employees, miscommunication can cost the company an average of $420,000 per year. Holy moly. That's a ton. I know every company looks different, but this is just what the studies showed. This largely stems from a lack of communication in which employees aren't informed of expectations and new developments. It can also occur when leaders don't give their staff an opportunity to provide feedback of their own, or if they simply ignore the feedback they received. Consistently, transparent behavior in leadership demonstrates the value of each employee so that everyone feels like they have a voice. The resulting employee satisfaction and engagement can drive results for years to come. Ultimately, transparency creates an open, honest culture that benefits everyone involved. Employees become more productive and will even become active advocates for your company. Costly misunderstandings can be avoided. Clients will trust you and feel secure giving you their business, ensuring long-term stability for your brand. Transparency starts at the top. By setting the right tone, you will benefit all aspects of your company. I'm going to leave you with the quote. Honesty and transparency make you vulnerable. Be honest and transparent anyway. Mother Teresa. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.